Well, good evening, everyone. This is Nancy Kroupa, and it's my pleasure tonight to present to you The Tower Garden by Juice Plus. And I think you'll all agree that many times, some of you may have a garden still with the soil and pulling weeds and so forth. This is a picture of our garden that we had many years ago, and it was actually a horse paddock that we made into a garden, if you can imagine. We even grew giant pumpkins, and one day we came home and there's that yard art. Somebody put that in our garden, and I think it really, the reason I'm putting this picture here, it kind of represents gardening, that you're bending over and pulling weeds and that kind of thing. Well, we're going to be talking about the Tower Garden tonight, and I'm going to be sharing with you our experience first with the beta test program before our company, the Juice Plus company, actually introduced the Tower Garden as one of our products. My husband and I are from Traverse City, Michigan. My name is Nancy Kroupa, and my husband Jerry and I have been with the Juice Plus company now for 26 years. And I have to say, 26 of the most amazing, the most fun, most interesting, self-fulfilling years that I could ever have imagined in my life. And so let's get started. The company actually, when we introduced the Tower Garden as one of our products, they had this amazing gentleman speak, and his name was Dr. Dickson Despommier, and his forte is he's from Cornell University, and he studies the population growth and how that relates to the food supply. And with his research, he's written several books, but one is called Vertical Farming. It's a very interesting book. But he also presented some very interesting statistics. And it really became, after hearing him speak, it really became more or less a mission for Jerry and I to share this amazing product, the Tower Garden, with as many people as possible. What he told us is that by the year 2050, the world's population will grow from 7 billion all the way to 10 billion. And 80% of that 10 billion will live in an urban area, in urban centers. The problem is today that 80% of the land that is suitable for farming in the world today is already in use. So when you think about it, where are we going to grow the food to supply future generations? And he says to grow up. Well, it's already happening, because it's already happening. It's very, very exciting to me, because here we are with the vertical farming skyscrapers. This one is in Singapore. It's called Sky Green Farm. And it actually opened up for business 2 years ago, this May, today. And they actually grow 1 million pounds of produce and actually harvest that every other day, 1 million pounds every other day. And this is right in the urban center of Singapore. And traditionally, they only grew about 3% of their food supply. They had to get it from other countries, from other sources. And their goal, obviously, is to feed their own population. And their goal is to at least grow 50% of what they already produce. So this is already happening in other cities as well. Toronto is looking at a downtown skyscraper. Chicago, you can buy produce that's been grown in downtown Chicago. The Netherlands, Dubai, and the list goes on and on and on. I just found this very interesting and wanted to share that with you. So I came away from that conference really on a mission and thinking about, what can I do? What can I do to make a difference with my environmental footprint? And the Tower Garden was a perfect answer for us, because we have one Tower Garden on an upstairs patio and 2 towers growing right now on our downstairs patio. And you can actually grow a Tower Garden in, you can grow it at a back porch, patio, around your pool, a rooftop, you name it. As long as you get about 5 to 6 hours of sun a day, you are in you have a great place for a tower garden. So what is a tower garden? It's a vertical aeroponic growing system, and there's a new word for you, aeroponic. Aero meaning air, and ponic similar to hydroponic, meaning that there is no soil. But because of the all natural earth minerals used as basically the food, and the sunshine and the oxygen, the tower garden grows so fast and so well. And that was actually developed at Epcot Center by Tim Blank, who was the chief horticulturist there. And now he actually has introduced the tower garden to our company, and now that is one of our products. We're so proud of that relationship as well. And you think about why the tower garden, obviously because of, you know, that making a smaller environmental footprint out there, but there's such an explosive interest today in gardening, and gardening is the #1 hobby in the world today. And you hear that word locavore. Locavore movement means that you want to look the farmer in the eye and ask him, what chemicals did you put on this produce, if any? Is it organic? And that's why today farmers markets are so popular, and that people want to buy locally when the produce is actually vine ripened and picked at the peak of perfection. And our tower garden is driven by the media. We'll talk about that in a moment. And we're all about inspiring healthy living around the world. We have been in the media and all these different news organizations and publications. But if you look at the picture, that is a picture of O'Hare Airport's urban farm. These are our tower gardens. They're 11 feet tall. And the restaurants like Wolfgang Puck and some of the other higher end restaurants actually utilize the vegetation from our towers. Here's a restaurant called Bell Book and Candle, and this is actually in New York City, and they just opened a new restaurant in Washington, D.C. They pick the produce fresh every single day from their rooftop 10 months out of the year, and that is the produce they serve their customers each and every day. I mean, isn't that exciting to think that the produce that you're eating in a restaurant was picked on the premises that very day? I just want to go there and eat someday. Sounds like fun. This is an interesting project. Kobe Bryant, you all know Kobe Bryant, the basketball player professional basketball player that just retired. Well, this was one of his projects in LA. It's called Platinum Step Up on Vine. And it's basically, it's a building and a facility that provides housing and support for the homeless in LA. So here are 25 tower gardens, and the residents actually are the farmers of the tower gardens. And here's Hillary's husband checking it out. I thought that was kind of a neat picture to share with you tonight. So this is a little tiny short video just to show you how the tower garden works. And so here we go.
Tower Garden's state-of-the-art aeroponic vertical garden system uses both water and air to produce more colorful, better tasting, and incredibly nutritious fruits, vegetables, and herbs. Tower Garden has a 20-gallon reservoir at its base that stores the Tower Tonic nutrient solution. Developed by experts in plant and human nutrition, Tower Tonic Mineral Blend enables superior plant growth and better nutrition from your Tower Garden produce. The process begins once the seedlings have been placed in your tower garden. Here they will be nourished with Tower Tonic nutrient solution. Inside the reservoir is a small, low-wattage submersible pump. The pump pushes the nutrient solution up through the tower to the top. From there, the nutrient solution drips through the central tower using a special device that evenly cascades the solution over the exposed plant roots. On the journey down the tower, the nutrient solution feeds the roots and becomes highly oxygenated as it cascades gently down the reservoir. This process is continuous, providing fresh oxygen, water, and nutrients to the roots of the plants. This patented aeroponic process enables food crops to grow faster than they would in soil, so they can be harvested more often. And it makes Tower Garden a healthier, easier, smarter way to grow your produce.
Okay, I thought that was just such a great little video to show you. I couldn't do any better job, and I'd rather show you that little video just to show you how the Tower Garden actually works. Very informative. So let's talk about gardening and how the Tower Garden actually makes gardening easier. It's very easy to install. It kind of goes together like Legos, you might say, big Legos. There are no tools needed. It's very easy to maintain, just, you know, maybe 15 minutes a week to get started. And then as you start actually harvesting, that takes a little bit longer, but that's the fun part to me. And I love that there's no dirt, there's no soil, there are no weeds to pull, and it's less climate sensitive as well. And recently I read this amazing article that said because of global warming, the actual chemical makeup of our produce that the farmers are growing for us to eat is actually changing because of the climate change. And it actually stated that there was more glucose, there's more sugar, there's actually more carbohydrates as well in the plants. So that's another reason to grow your own safe, dense, nutritious, organic produce. And it is environmentally friendly as well. You think about the drought in California in the last few years, and the water recirculates. So you, for the same amount of produce you'd have in the soil compared to the Tower Garden, you not only use 10% of the land because it's just a 2.5 by 2.5 environmental footprint, you also use 10% of the water because the water recirculates itself. And of course, I love that you're in control of the chemicals that you put on your produce, making it organic. And it's really fun for the whole family, where you can have the children involved. And it's also very educational, really teaching not only your children, but hopefully generations to come, that whole concept of seed to table. This is our new tower. This is our new Tower Garden website. It's very informative. And if you're looking at this Tower Garden for the first time, you would go to the Tower Garden website and you would click on Tower Talk, and you do sign up for that, but there is such great information there. There's information for schools, how to get your Tower Garden growing with over 30 different little short YouTube videos, how to grow indoors, also to share pictures of your Tower Garden. And there's also a blog available so that you can actually have your questions and concerns, any questions or concerns you have answered. Our Juice Plus company, of course, we're all about inspiring healthy living around the world. And with our Juice Plus product line, I invite you to ask the person that invited you on the call tonight to learn more about Juice Plus, because it is backed by over 35 gold standard scientific studies that have been published in impressive publications throughout the world. And because of that, our Tower Garden has research as well. And this was a scientific study that was done at the University of Mississippi about a year ago, and it proved that the produce was at least, if not more, nutritious, but it also grew, in my opinion, 3 times faster than traditional growing. So here's some kale that they planted in dense, nutritious soil. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? Same seed they planted in a Tower Garden, and this is the kale. It grew so much faster, and look at the dark green color as well. And we all know the darker the green, the more nutritious the produce. This is a little short time lapse video. It's just a little, about a minute long, and you can see how a Tower Garden grows from week 1 when it's planted right through to 4 weeks. So let's get started with that. There's week 3. You'll notice they pruned some of the leaves at the bottom for the squash. Week 4. Pretty beautiful, isn't it? And that's what you can expect with our tower garden, because and these pictures are pictures of my towers. I'm going to kind of share with you some of my experience. So this was the beta test program. Jerry and I live in the 45th parallel here in northern Michigan. We overlook Lake Michigan. So this patio that you're seeing here, the day I planted this was on the 30th of April in 2011. And that was day 1. I planted a few little seedlings in there. We have 50-mile-an-hour winds, but I didn't lose one seedling. I was just amazed. And what we found is we doubled our growing season to over 7 months. And we also found that it paid for itself. So here's a few pictures. Here's a picture. This is the 4th of July. And I'll tell you, we did absolutely everything wrong. We even put a tomato plant high in this, but we had, as you can see, a very beautiful tower garden. And then this is right at Thanksgiving time. You can see the frost on the homes below. And this is in November, and I was still growing parsley, and I had some peas planted, and just a few other cruciferous vegetables were still doing well in the tower garden outdoors. And I'll tell you how we were able to do that in just a moment. Jerry and I have the pleasure of living in Florida in the winter, so we took that tower garden to Florida, and this is 6 weeks of growing, and obviously we were in South Florida in Pembroke Pines, Florida, and we planted it, and every Sunday I took a picture. So this is 6 weeks of growing with 80 degrees optimal during the day, 70 degrees at night. So here's planting day. Here's week 1. There's week 2, and look at the tomato plants at the bottom. There's week 3, and we added the support cage because you can see those tomatoes at the bottom are kind of leaning over, needed a little support. There's week 4, and notice in the middle here, the red stems, that is rainbow Swiss chard. Look at what happened in 1 week. There's week 5, and look at those leaves. Aren't they amazing? That's what happened in 1 week. The Bib lettuce at the top, it's just a beautiful tower. And the magenta lettuce there in the middle towards the top. And then obviously it was so fertile it had a baby. So that was week 5, and then this is week 6. And you can just see, you know, the baby, how it grew too in 1 week. So beautiful tower gardens and optimal temperatures for growing. And, you know, Jerry and I were sold on the tower gardens because we just thought people were coming to our door, knocking on our door saying, are those plants real? The guy across the street where you can see the cars parked, they came over and bought that baby from us, actually. They couldn't wait to have a tower garden. So anyway, we had a lot of fun with it. And Jerry and I got home in the spring that year, and we were ready to go. You can really grow anything that grows above ground. So really use your imagination. This year I've got one whole tower, a 6-foot tower of all strawberries. 28 strawberry plants is doing beautifully. And then I have 2 other towers growing with all kinds of herbs and different kinds of lettuce. I have fennel growing. I even have a baby sunflower growing to draw the bees. And I love to plant a marigold in each and every tower garden because it's a natural deterrent to bugs as well. So anything that you can imagine, you can grow if it grows above ground. And this is just some of our harvests. We eat from the tower garden each and every day, just like we do take and eat our Juice Plus. And these are just some of the harvests. I just couldn't not take a picture because they're just so beautiful. This is my favorite lettuce. It's magenta. It's wonderful. There's some herbs. This was one zucchini plant, just one zucchini plant. We had 19 zucchini that we harvested from this one plant. The leaves tried to take over the whole tower garden, but we had to trim them back. It was really fun. And just the tomatoes, the heirloom tomatoes are just delicious. Making salads, I make pesto. And here's a little hint for those of you that like to make pesto. Use some of your greens in your pesto recipe. along with the basil. For example, parsley, you can use the Swiss chard, spinach, that kind of thing, or kale. And that will keep your pesto really green. You see how green that pesto is? A lot of times it turns a little brown. So that's a little hint for you. I canned a few cans of tomatoes, get my old canner out. And I had one year a bumper crop of dill. So I made dilly beans and dill pickles. And this is a really fun activity. In fact, we've been having salad in the jar parties. We have one scheduled here in Traverse City in 2 weeks. It's really going to be fun. And everybody brings like 6 cups of something that goes in a salad and 3 jars. And we put the dressing at the bottom and then the chunkier vegetables next. And the lettuce goes on top. You put the top on tight. You put it in the refrigerator. You can take it to work and then you tip it over and it dresses itself on a plate. It's really fun to do. And it's a fun activity for the kids too, if you have children. We got that old juicer, start juicing because we had quite a few vegetables. And I just looked for recipes. This is a Tuscan kale soup. And these are the stalks from that rainbow Swiss chard. I just killed me to throw them out. They tasted good, so I stuffed them and served them as an appetizer. And of course, our Juice Plus Complete shakes, we put spinach, kale, Swiss chard, something green in it each and every day. So we get extra servings of a very dark, nutritious, very dense, nutritious produce in the morning as well. And I wanted to really see if this tower garden was going to pay for itself or how long it would take, because I was a consumer at this point, just like you, if you do not own a tower garden. And so I went to the store, my favorite store, and I just bought these vegetables. And I paid just under $19. And this wasn't even enough produce for Jerry and I for 1 week. And I thought, wow, it's almost $20. You multiply that by 4, that's $80 in a month that I would spend on produce when I could grow this, at least most of this, even 12 months out of the year. So I thought, wow, this is more than paid for itself. And then if that's not enough, this is an amazing study that was done where they actually, the vegetable you can see on the left, and they found the lowest cost they could for regular and organic, and then they tracked how much they actually produced, the Tower Garden produced in a month. And in 6 months, they figured that they saved on just the regular produce just about $800, and for organic over $1,400. And this was over a 6-month harvest. So that was pretty exciting. When I saw this study, I thought, wow, we've really got an amazing product that we can share with people where they can actually purchase a tower garden, pay for it monthly without interest, and then it's theirs completely. The tower garden is sold as a kit, everything you need to get started. You make 12 equal payments. This kit is actually about $45 a month, depending on the state you live in, or you can make a one-time payment. And as I said, you can pay for it monthly without interest as well. Many people decide they want a little mini urban farm on their patio. And when you order 3 tower gardens, you get a savings of about 20%. And get with the person that invited you. They can go into more detail, but usually the Serious Gardener bundle is what I share with my customers. And they actually pay for the freight with their first payment. And then you can see if you look at the monthly installment price, they would pay just over $66 a month for the Serious Gardener bundle, which we have different ancillary products that you can order along with the Tower Garden kit. We can grow 12 months in Montana and Michigan, it doesn't matter. Here's a tower. You can see the fall colors. And I told you I had 3 towers, so I cleaned one up in October because I didn't want to miss out on my delicious lettuce. And I brought it indoors, and this is actually in my formal dining room, and put grow lights on it, and actually you can grow 12 months out of the year. And this is what it looked like at Christmas time. So we had all the beautiful greens, the lettuce, herbs and so forth right through Christmas time. And then obviously we went to Florida at that time. You can extend your growing season. Like I said, with the grow lights, there's a frost cloth available. And we bought a submersible aquarium 200-watt heater. And actually we set it at 68 degrees. And it keeps the water warm. We have the two that are in the downstairs tonight have that chiller because it's going to be around 40 degrees tonight. So, and then you can also get a greenhouse. You can also purchase a greenhouse and put it in there to extend it. So we're all about making a difference with the Tower Garden. And here I am at the children's garden at our local library teaching them about aquaponics and the Tower Garden. They actually purchased one, and the kids and I actually planted the seeds. We took it all the way from seed to table, and here we're doing a little harvest and cleaning the Tower Garden. Tech High School, they have, I believe, 8 Tower Gardens, teaching again in the classroom, seed to table. Here's a preschool. They own 6 towers. Kids, making a difference with kids. And I love this. Our company has built this facility for the Boys and Girls Club of Memphis. They donated the towers, and they actually, our employees spend time teaching and spend time here with the boys and girls, where they have 100% placement ever since the installation of the Tower Gardens. And so they're learning about, they're learning culinary arts, they're learning seed to table, they're learning so much in this program that our company has committed a Tower Garden to each and every Boys and Girls Club in North America. I'm so impressed with that. Also making a difference, a Green Bronx machine. Here's Stephen Ritz. He does TED Talks. He was even here in Traverse City, and he's like the Pied Piper, you might say, for kids. And he does an amazing job in the Bronx, again, teaching that whole concept of seed to table. I think every school really should teach gardening because food is kind of important. I think you'll agree. So we're all about making a difference. We're all about education. We're all about your health, your family's health. And, you know, we share our bounty. Our neighbors just love us. Of course, now they own Tower Gardens. So, so we have a wonderful bounty. And think about who you know who would love to own a Tower Garden or even Juice Plus, join our mission. You know, help us get the word out to schools and teachers so that we can make a difference. And my last slide, this is just a quick story that this is that first Tower Garden, and we actually had to replant the tomatoes because my husband made a mistake and sprayed a chemical, and we had to replant them. But this bowl of tomatoes was a harvest from 2 Tower Gardens, and it was just a beautiful tomato, and we still don't even know what kind it was, but you can just see the old cucumber hanging off the bottom there. And you know, the whole point that I want to show you this Tower Garden is no matter how we planted it, whatever we did wrong, we still really enjoyed a beautiful Tower Garden, and it just knows what to do. So Jerry and I are outstanding in our field, and we tower amongst the best. So I'm going to open the lines right now, and I'm going to bring on a couple of my friends, and I'm going to unmute the line. So if you have any background noise, you might want to mute yourself out. And so we're live now. And I'm going to stop the screen share. And I would like to ask, first of all, John Sandstrom, and he is from Montana, from the northwest part of Montana. I'm not sure, John, are you from Eureka, or where are you from in Montana? What city?
I'm in Eureka.
In Eureka.
Originally from Fargo, North Dakota.
Wonderful. Well, what is your background, John?
Well, I spent almost 20 years in the car business. Prior to that, I was in the U.S. Air Force. That was 5 years. And I've always wanted a garden, but I've got a really bad brown thumb.
So,
So-
I understand you just are starting, you just got your tower garden, you just recently got it in the last couple of weeks, but you've been growing your seedlings and you were going to start planting yesterday. How did that go?
It went great until a big water jug fell on top of my seedlings on the floor. But anyway, the ones that I was able to save transplanted just fine, and it's looking great.
Well, that's great. So what is your hope? I know that you and I talked last weekend about strawberries. So what is your goal with your tower garden?
My primary goal is to have fresh produce on hand at all times because I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes last year. I have been able to keep it in check without drugs thanks to organic foods here in Eureka that are available, and also some quality supplements like Juice Plus. However, I wanted to be able to grow year round because when I calculated it up, just like you just showed on your videos and charts, the cost for my wife and I to have fresh produce all the time would be about $150 a month at least.
Oh my gosh.
And so if we want to stay organic, so for me, it just made all the sense in the world because even if you pay all up front, it's about half of what we're going to pay for produce for the year if we went to the farmers markets or the organic stores.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you for sharing that story with us, and be sure to share some pictures along the way. We'd love to see your towers as it grows. Okay, John?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. What a great job. Thank you so much. Let's move on next to Pembroke Pines, Florida, and my good friend, Simone Spire. Are you with us, Simone?
I am. The connection, I lost you a couple of times, so I'm here.
Great. Well, you've had a tower garden, what now, for 2 years, I believe, isn't it?
I've had it now going on about a year and a half. You and Jerry came over and helped me put it together. And twice a week I check it because now in Florida, the weather's little steamy, not like where you are. It's 90 degrees during the day, and then at night we get it now to a cool, balmy 68.
Wow. Well, I love your pictures when you share them on Facebook of your tower. So tell me about what you grow in your tower garden.
Okay, right now growing cucumbers, tomatoes, lettuce, basil, wheatgrass, and parsley. And the tomatoes, I put it on Facebook today, got a whole bowl of cherry tomatoes, and I don't know if it's my imagination, but they just taste better. They just taste better coming from your own tower garden. And, I go to work. This is how I get people to know about it. I take some wheatgrass or I take some parsley, put it in, I wash it and bring it to work, and they go, "Where'd you get that?" I said, "From my tower garden." Oh, I think I might want one. So I'm trying to get people interested, but it's a learning process. I'm hoping to get another tower garden, maybe one, maybe two, and then share with my neighbors, just like you did with the people in Pembroke Pines across the street. And I think every home should have one.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you. And I know that you, because of the tower garden, you've been a Juice Pluser for a long time, but because of the tower garden, you've started your Juice Plus business. And actually, one of your first distributors you brought on was your boss, and you are a physical therapist.
Yes.
She's a physical therapist, and she loves the tower garden as well. So
she does, and she can't stop bragging about it and showing pictures. Also, hers, I don't know, if it's the rock wool that it's planted in, what a difference it makes between that and soil. How dirty you get when you use the soil versus the rock wool. It takes like 2 seconds. You got to be patient. The seedlings have to grow, or you can order them from the website, and then it's already ready to go right into the rock wool, and then you speed it up by about 3 weeks. So if you're not patient, there's a way around that.
there you go. Well, thank you, Simone, for sharing your stories tonight about the Tower Garden. We really appreciate it. Let's move on to Lansing, Michigan, and Mary Elaine Keener. Good evening, Mary.
Hi, Nancy.
Tell me about your experience. You were part of the beta test program with me, and kind of one of the pioneers with the grow lights. So tell us about that.
Right. Well, we had started with the beta test outside in the summer, and as summer began to turn into fall, I started thinking, I really like this. I don't want to spend 6 to 8 months of the year without produce growing. And it was interesting because at the time, nobody had a sense of, because the only grow lights were horizontal, the big, and so I tried little spotlights and photographs and that kind of thing, and began talking with one of the growers in town, and walking into a grow store back then was always interesting because mostly what they were growing was marijuana. And so to begin talking about fresh produce indoors and things like that, and it finally somebody saw the support cage, and that's when the light bulb went on and said, metaphorically, and we came up with the idea of attaching the grow lights to the, and finally, because it was interesting, every time we had asked any of the folks in Florida, they hadn't thought about it because, as Simone well knows, and Jerry and Nancy well know, you don't need grow lights in Florida. You've got the sun year round. So that was really exciting. And I actually keep a tower garden going in my living room year round. It gives me a built-in water feature that goes on and off periodically through the day. And during the winter, the grow lights make for, here in Michigan, we have a lot of seasonal affective disorder. And I find that I'm not spending any more on electricity because with the tower garden lights, that gives me enough light. And it's like sunlight, so it takes care of SAD. So that's kind of my story with the beta testing and with the lights, and I just love it. It's nice having the herbs growing inside. Let me stop there.
Well, that's great, Mary. Well, thank you for all the hard work you've done on our behalf and have made it so wonderful to grow indoors, because you were kind of one of the pioneers in that regard as well. And now our company actually has a wonderful grow light kit that you can purchase if you are interested in growing year round. So, well, great. Well, I want to thank our speakers tonight for sharing their experience. John and Simone and Mary Elaine, and thank you very much, all of you, for joining us tonight. And this call tonight I did record, and I will be posting it on our Team Kroupa site, as well as our Team Kroupa Boxer site, so that if you had somebody that you really wanted to be on tonight, but they couldn't join us, you can share the video with them and they can still get the same experience. So hopefully we'll stay tuned. We are most likely going to have another another Zoom call next Tuesday night. And just stay tuned for that information, and please join us again, same time, same place. Hope everyone has a great evening. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Love you, Nancy.
Love
Take
you
care.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, all.